pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We gotta get these together. He's fragile.
Okay. The first thing on the agenda, I'm just reporting on financials I approved on February 25th. Resolution 16025 as was the authority for which was granted to me by the commissioners. There were 2 travels that day, one for the engineer's office and one for juvenile court. So that's what I approved on that day.
Commissioner's Office is requesting the board approve and execute the minutes for the meeting of February 18, 2016.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier? Commissioner Claypool? Aye. The Commissioner's Office is requesting the board approve and execute the minutes for the meeting of February 23, 2016.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Abstain.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Morning, Heidi, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good, good.
The revenue, financials today include revenue certifications for the Department of Job and Family Services Family Council Fund, Family First Council Fund, and this is to align your revenue estimates with the program budget per the state recommendations. Supplemental appropriations for the Family First Council Fund for state recommendations and the Emergency Services Fund for purchases related to building renovations. One then and now for the county home, a travel request for the Public Defender's Office, and a payment to Preston Ford for the purchase of a 2016 Ford Escape for the building department in the amount of $21,251.50.
Commissioner's Office is requesting the board approve and execute resolution number 16-026, itemizing the financials for the meeting of March 1st, 2016.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Spillier? Commissioner Claypool?
And for the vehicle, where is that?
Building department?
To who though?
Preston?
Dan.
Yeah. Preston, well,
Oh, yeah, when it came from Preston and it's Dan's
Okay,
vehicle.
so it's county dealer.
Yeah, it was a county deal.
with the board's permission, I'd like to recognize a couple individuals at this time. Linda, would you come up, please?
We know these individuals.
We know these individuals.
So I recognize them.
We recognize them, and this is something we wanted to do here for a while. We are very fortunate in Geauga County to have 2 outstanding individuals who've been in this office now for the last 10 years. Heidi Delaney joined us on February 13th, 2006, and Linda, or Henny, joined us a week later on February 21st, 2006. And I can tell you that without these 2 individuals, this office would not run nearly as well. And I'm very grateful that they've stuck around and been a part of this office and supported the commissioners and supported me. So thank you both very much. Just a wonderful piece of paper with this anniversary award on it.
Thank you.
Okay. As well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Hey, if you ladies want to stand up there with the commissioners, I'll take a picture.
Maybe they don't want to stand here. Just saying, yeah, maybe.
You
may not be so.
No, we're
That's good.
gonna-
No, stay right there, yeah. Because I'm going to get you, I'm coming down this way.
Oh, they're coming
I'm
this
sorry.
way.
Come this way.
You get in front. You get
There you
here.
go.
And then you get there.
There you
If
go.
anyone else has a camera, please take a picture. Now, I'll face the camera there. The camera there. Okay.
Wedding.
Hold on, hold on.
It's a wedding photography.
Yeah, this is, I'm taking pictures, they're snapshot. Okay, hopefully you can be suitable for framing or something. Hold on one second.
Say spaghetti.
Say spaghetti. One more, hold on.
Get that in your hand.
Whose hand was that?
Hey. One more. Okay.
No, it's good for
Yeah,
it.
Thank you very much.
We're getting one for the paper here.
There you go.
The sheriff doesn't want to come up, office doesn't want to take a picture, right, for the post officer wall or anything?
We already have it.
Oh, okay.
I can tell you, this office does not run an office to so we can lose Dave.
Yeah.
Let's do that at this stage.
But I'm the one that found them, so. Okay, and then I approved actually, I just accepted the resignations of 2 part-time drivers for transit. So that was the item approved by me on February 26th, as authorized by Resolution 16-005.
And I'm gonna make a little comment, because this is a new process we've started, and it seems to be working pretty good. I'm kind of happy with the fact that this is lightning loaded in this
Little bit.
meeting.
We're still working on it.
Yeah.
Still working.
But
Well,
that's
it's all right.
part.
Things, sometimes you work too much. I think it's working pretty good, so.
Alright, this is 6 and 7. County auditor is requesting the board accept, execute, and file the monthly statement of county finances filed by the county auditor for the months of November and December 2015 pursuant to ORC 319.15. The county treasurer is requesting the board accept, execute, and file the monthly statement of county finances filed by the county treasurer for the month of November and December 2015 pursuant to ORC 319.15.
I'll make that motion, or those motions.
Second?
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Spillier? Commissioner Claypool?
I mean, I'm assuming.
This is ready to go for the next one. I don't know who all was coming for you guys today.
Okay.
You guys are
Want me to get up right now, or should I wait for your thing?
All right. Well, good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Steve.
Morning, audience. Don Rice, our superintendent, is under the weather, so unfortunately he can't be here today. Sends his apologies, but March 1st, I don't know about you guys, but I consider this the beginning of spring, so I'm ready to go here for the better weather. It's also the first day of March, which is DD Awareness Month. We've been celebrating it for the past couple of years with the commissioners, and we're trying to get some of our individuals that we serve to actually give a chance to get out there and tell you what they do. This year, there's always a theme for the month, and I think the theme is tell your story.
What's your story?
What's your story? Maybe I should leave that to Kelly. She knows what's going on. But we have some very outstanding, very good and young outstanding adults here. They've been working with the Kiwanis Club and the K-Action Club. And I think I will put Bart Alcorn, one of our board members, and Farmer Bart, as you might know him, on the spot to kind of come up here, maybe introduce his people here, and just tell some of the things that you guys have been doing with the K Action Fund.
I'm one of the past presidents of the West Geauga Kiwanis. Action Club is a Kiwanis supported club. It's a service club. Michelle, who is out of Colorado, and I and Kit McKinney chartered it. I guess we're going on 7 years now. The first year we started with 12 members, and now I think we're pushing 70. We do different things. It's a service club just like a Kiwanis or a Rotary. We have our president, who is Russ Roush, and he is not here today. Our vice president Mike is here. Vita is our historian, and I think that's all our officers that made it here today. What we do is we generally meet about once a month, and we do different service projects. One of our big projects that we have now, that was one of our very first ones, is called Backpack for Kids. What we do, we know the situation in Geauga County when Jobs and Family Services has to go in and remove a child from the house. Well, we know that's very tragic. Usually the kids have like the coat on their back. So we make backpacks. We have them from ages 0 to 5 for boys and girls, 5 to 9, and we supply them to Jobs and Family Services. What we put in there, we put in anywhere from a toothbrush, crayons, books, pillowcase, blankets for the little ones. So that way when Jobs goes in, takes a child out, they hand them that backpack, and they have something to take with them wherever they go. We've probably done, gosh, unfortunately, I think we're well over 100, almost 150 backpacks over the last 5 years that we've done. So we have a little warehouse set up, so we're always collecting little toiletry things and different things like that. We work with the Kiwanis. Our last summer's project, we rebuilt the memory garden over at Metzenbaum. Whenever that was put in by the pavilion, wasn't quite finished off, and the stones were falling apart. So we got together, we pulled all the bricks out, we restacked it, we put it back together, and that was then the summer before we painted the gazebo over there. So every year we get different projects. We're not sure what our project this year will be with the Kiwanis, but they also do their own. They do, this past year they did 22 or 23 baskets for Thanksgiving. The first year we did 10, so it varies anywhere from 22 to 30 over the holiday. But they hold a couple of dances that they sponsor, so they do food drives, they do different things, you know, that they raise. So it puts them out, and we're all very involved in the community in our own way. And we also, one of our favorite things to do is bowling. I don't bowl very well, and they don't let me use bumpers, so they keep going. So anyway, so we started this about 5-6 years ago, and each year we keep growing and growing. The Kiwanis, the third pancake breakfast we do at the high school, West Geauga High School, every month, is DD Awareness Day. So we set up our booth, our Action Club is there. We hand out things about our Geauga County services and things to our adults. We have Skipper from the captains coming there. So we as the Kiwanis, we designate our third Sunday for our disabilities awareness. So we do different things. They have, every month, we start out with once every 6 weeks, but now we meet at least once a month, sometimes twice. We also do Easter eggs for Women's Safe. So they collect little items, stuff the eggs, and then we deliver them to Women's Safe. So this is something that has started, and we're growing and growing, and it's just endless where we can go. And we thank you guys very much for your support and everything that you do for us. So that's all I got. Good enough?
Good.
That work?
Thank you.
The Board of Development and Disabilities is requesting the board approve and execute resolution number 16-027 recognizing March 2016 as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
We have the resolution here. We'd like to present it to Steve.
Yeah, you guys want to get up over here? We'll get
Come on, guys.
Probably ought to go down there and go somewhere. Who would like to, do you want it, who?
On behalf of the Board of Directors and Kitty Campbell, we will gladly accept this for the action club.
Thank you, and on behalf of us, it's a great honor to give it to you. Keep up your good work,
Thank you
okay?
so much.
Thank you for coming.
I'll in for a picture here. So
Come on, guys, you guys all get in here. Come on, Kat.
Okay, well.
Where you going? Hey, guys, come back.
Bye, guys.
File in here for a picture, we're all over here.
I'm sorry.
Are you okay? That's.
Kat, why don't you come in front?
Yeah,
Why don't you guys-
Yeah, you get lost back there.
How's that? Got it? I got it.
Okay.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Hold on.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Good job, Katie. Yep.
You just need to wait for me. We will now hold a public hearing to discuss the proposed vacation of the public right-of-way upon a portion of an unnamed non-numbered road in Parkland Township.
We'll wait the,
I need a motion to waive the reading of the legal
I'll
notice.
move the
second.
waive the reading.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Hi, Andy.
Morning, Andy.
Any questions? I don't, the only other one was just the clarification as far as their, with their parking and stuff like that. You guys are working that all pretty much out? With the turnaround? Yeah, with For the the turnaround. township, that issue will come up, and that's something that will most likely take place between the township and Mr. Christoph.
Is this the turnaround?
Yeah.
Yes, I talked with Mr. Christoph. He didn't see an issue with it.
Okay.
Now I'll go ahead and pursue that.
Yeah, as long as you guys are feeling comfortable with that, I don't have an issue.
There's a little parking area behind there.
Be on the west side.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
just north of the old fire station.
Are you gonna do a verbal agreement, or is it gonna be a written?
I think we have to do a written agreement, because someday he may sell it.
Right,
Yep,
that'd be a good idea.
But he's been great to work with, so I don't see a problem.
Take place after Yep. vacation, because Commissioner's on it right now. Right, right. Once it's back to him, then
We go through
the easement process will take place. Okay. That sounds good, yep.
We don't need to take any action.
No, we will do a formal resolution next week.
Yeah, thank you.
No other
Thanks.
comments or questions?
Yep,
Good
sure. Yep, you're all set, thank
We have
you.
one thing, I want to make a comment while you're up here, since you represent the county engineer. Just because we've made some public statements, this isn't a public parking thing. Because we've made some public comment about the dollars that were set aside for earmark for Geauga County, and there was some question of whether or not we would get those earmark dollars. They were set aside 10 years ago during the DeWine and Steve LaTourette era. I was working with the state ODOT, Myron Pakush. We reached out to NOACA, or actually they reached out to me, we had some conversations. And so it appears, good news, that Geauga County will receive the funding that has been sitting there for 10 years and not used. I think you guys may know about that. And this is the first you've heard of it?
First I've heard of it.
Yeah, so I was told that by ODOT the other day. I'm saying this on public record and ensure that they will follow through. It may only take another 2 years to actually get the project done. And so we're working at the speed of government here, but it appears that it looks like that's going to be moving forward. And so when you go back over and talk to Joe, you can confirm with him. I think he's in the loop on that, so we'll do that. But it looks like, I think it was on Auburn Road, there was a stretch, and there was another project as well. So, but I just thought I'd make a comment. I raised it a couple weeks ago, and we were working through that. So that's it. Thanks. Just giving it back to Joe for my appreciation.
Will do. Thanks, Andy. Good day.
Hi, Greg, how are you?
Good morning.
Dave.
Morning.
Good morning. Your floor, Officer.
Okay. Well, as you are all aware, July 1st of 2015, the Workforce Investment Act was repealed and replaced with the Workforce Innovation and Opportunities Act. As a result of that change in law, we are going through a series of transitional events. One of those transitional events that we're required to do was to overhaul our intergovernmental agreement. As you recognize, the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, like Workforce Investment Act, requires a regional cooperation amongst workforce counties, and our particular region for some time has been Geauga, Ashtabula, and Portage counties. We have been in a series of intergovernmental agreements with them, I think dating back to 2004 approximately. The most recent one that we are in currently was entered into July 1st, 2013, and we entered into that one to go ahead and come up with a new intergovernmental agreement, which was to form a council of governments. And now here we are at the threshold, and the state of Ohio, including the body that we contract with, which is the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services, is requiring us via policy to update our intergovernmental agreement. So we have rewritten that intergovernmental agreement. It has been vetted by the Council of Governments. Commissioner Rear has overseen that process. We've made a number of changes. Most of the material changes have to do with required changes, particularly associated with the Workforce Development Board, which is the advisory board, is made up of 33 individuals. A majority of them are business representatives from the 3 counties, and it in turn acts as an advisory board to the Council of Governments, recommending basically how we spend our money, how we budget it, how we go about spending workforce dollars in the area. So we come to you after rewriting that, changing the board, changing the nomination process and how individuals are appointed to that board. And one other material change is we've added a arbitration clause, just in the off chance that we go down the road and find ourselves in litigation. We don't want to end up in a jurisdictional battle over what court it should end up in, since it's a 3-county area. So we would ask that you look at the intergovernmental agreement and that you adopt it by resolution today. I believe all the other 2 counties are meeting as well today to do the same thing and adopt this by resolution. It would rescind the old agreement and make the new agreement effective upon the last county adopting a resolution to enter into the same. Are there any questions I can answer for you?
So we don't have to do that together then?
No, each county by resolution. The intergovernmental agreement, the old one will only be considered rescinded, and the new one entered into after each Board of Commissioners enters a resolution to do the same. And if there's any discrepancies or disagreement, then we have to go back, obviously, and have each of the 3 commissioners agree upon the same document. Each of these documents to date have been reviewed by each of the prosecutor's office and approved it as a form. And again, each of the commissioners sitting on the call has reviewed it and approved the same.
Dave, I understood that there was, Laurel had been reviewing this, and there was some issues that she was raising up.
Well, and I mean, that's the last I heard, is that if you've been.
I talked to Laura yesterday,
Okay.
and she was fine, the same as form.
Okay, do we have the copy approved?
I have the revised version that you sent me. I just did not hear anything back yesterday in regards to Portage County, other than Vicki was okay with it.
Yes.
About the change to Ashtabula County.
Yes.
You might want to address that with them, because that came in so late on Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
I don't know if they actually got to see it.
Right, in Ashtabula County's working session last week, they did request one change, which then we went back to each of the prosecutor's office and they agreed. The change just has to do with, I think, the language that we had the individual serving on the Workforce Development Board as just appointed by the individuals serving on the Council of Governments. They wanted to make sure that they would be also approved by the whole Council of Governments. So the counties basically, or the county representative nominates the slate of individuals to serve on the Workforce Development Board, and then the remaining members on the Council of Government approve. So those were the changes that were requested by the commissioners in Ashtabula County.
What page 5? This was the previous language that had been in there.
by our,
This is the
Yes.
revised
by
language.
Laura and by,
So I want you to make sure that you.
I'm not
take a
sure
look
who
at
the
that.
legal counsel is in Portage, but,
Denise Smith and
Okay.
specifically David Brody, yes.
and they've all concurred on
Because
that.
that was what she wanted to make sure that you guys were aware.
Commissioner Claypool from Ashtabula County was just uncomfortable with the original process that had been agreed by the NOC-COG is that just each county commissioner serving on the NOC-COG would just appoint people. And commissioners from Ashtabula County just felt that it should, that they should basically be nominated by them, but then the actual COG itself should have the vote as to then who serves on the Workforce Development Board. So that is the change that was asked. They just thought that it did not make sense to have just one commissioner acting alone. They would feel more comfortable if the commissioners on the NOC-COG had the final approval of who served on those.
When does this need to be passed? Is there a deadline for this?
There is no deadline. We were asking for it today. We're trying to get it done as soon as possible because once we do, then we can start appointing the new board. Right now, we're in hiatus. We're not having any board meetings until we can assemble the new board. So there is no artificial deadline, but the sooner the better we can move forward.
Most of these appointments, these are the 10 that each county comes up with, right?
Yes.
And the bulk of these are specific to the job title or job deal, you know, I mean, someone from industry, someone from
Right.
business,
If you turn-
someone from a specific area, which from my understanding limits, it's not just somebody off the street. They have to have a certain expertise in a,
Yes,
in
that
a
was one of the things that
specific
we
area.
had to add to the
Right.
agreement is, the old act was very general, and you just had to have a business representative. Now, under the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, you know, it needs to be either a CEO, CFO, or at least somebody with individualized policy-making authority at each company. Plus, there are all kinds of different slots of representation. And if you turn to page 23, you can see the board is made up of 33 individuals. Each county has equal representation, 10 individuals to appoint to the board. Geauga specifically appoints the business community reps. Most of the reps currently serving, if they wish to continue to serve, will probably be asked to continue because, quite frankly, Geauga has a very good stable of representatives already on the current board. The other 4 slots are the apprenticeship. We have to have, this is a new position. We never had to have representation on the board. We have to add that. And we get nominations from the state on that. I have 2 individuals that the state has nominated that will then go to the commissioner serving on the NOC-COG to choose amongst those to recommend to the NOC-COG. We have to have a representative of a local community-based organization. That would be like CAC or some other type of community-based organization. We have to have a representative of economic development from Geauga County, and then finally a representative from transportation, housing, public assistance, and/or philanthropic organization, and that's a new position as well too that we're asking Geauga to appoint. So, and then the chief elected official has 3 at-large positions, and the reason those are given to the chief local elected official is because basically those positions are fixed. Who has to serve in that are already individuals that we know, so there's no discretion really there on who to appoint. So this is the major change. The makeup of the board is changing as well as who serves on the board, and we're obviously looking to reinvigorate the board by getting your 6 business community reps. We hope will be individuals who serve in businesses that are dynamic, that have a large number of hiring opportunities. We really want those businesses to have a say on how we spend our economic and workforce development dollars.
and Commissioner Claypool, Dan Claypool from Ashtabula, his concern or change was that the representatives of all 3 counties have to concur.
The NOC-COG representatives, yes.
Yes.
At the NOC-COG, so.
Yeah, not the.
Not each board of county commissioners.
Right, not all 9, but the 3 people who are on the COG need to approve that whatever the people that are there?
The commissioner serving for Geauga County would basically nominate the individuals. The other two commissioners would not have the ability to control the nominations. They would then just basically vote up or down on the slate of individuals nominated.
Right.
Okay, you lost me with that one. So, in terms of the actual nomination process, before anybody is nominated to NOCCUG, the three of us weigh in and nominate individuals. How does that work?
Well, the way it works is in the intergovernmental agreement, we leave that up to each county. So in other words, we're not going to try to dictate in this intergovernmental agreement how you go about it. It would be good enough for us if just the representative to the NOCCUG nominates the slots. That is fine with us, and we think that's sufficient. If a county wants to impose additional criteria, that's up to that county to do so. If there's necessary to convert amongst the three of you. But to us, the representative from Geauga County, we feel that person speaks for Geauga County. If that individual, if it's okay with this board, can go ahead and just appoint according to the intergovernmental agreement.
Following the language, and so, David, do we have a process in place for the NOCCUG nominations? Do we do it by board, or do we do it, have we just talked about this?
We don't have a process in place.
Okay, so that's something we need to raise up. You have nominations here for area chief elected officials.
So
What's the-
that's just the slot. See, what the top column is describing to you is who has the ability to basically nominate those slots. So the area chief elected official has the ability to nominate the representative of workforce higher education. We basically agreed in the intergovernmental agreement that will most typically be somebody from one of the Kent state branches, because that's one of the things that the three counties share in common, is we each have a Kent state branch. The chief local elected official will also appoint a representative of the Opportunities for Highlands with Disabilities. Basically, they tell us who they want to serve on that. That's a guaranteed slot that they have to have on our board. So there's no real discretion there. We go to the Ohioans, Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, we ask them who they want to serve, and they appoint. And then the same thing with the representative from the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. That's dictated. That will be, unless it changes, his name is escaping me, but he serves out of the Youngstown office, Jeff Yates. So we give those three slots because basically the positions are guaranteed to the organization. There's no real discretion. So whoever is serving in the chief local elected official slot, which right now is Commissioner Peggy Carlo as the chief local elected official of the NOCCUG, appoints those three positions.
So that position, the area chief elected official, is chosen by the NOCCUG board?
Correct.
Well, I'm going to ask, because I was waiting for Laura to give us her blessing on this whole thing. So I have not been reading this, waiting for her to come back and say this is good, so I wasn't wasting my time on it. I'd like to have 1 week. So next Tuesday, if you want to come back, or we can
Sure.
at least, that's from my perspective. If you two want to pass it, that's up to you. But I'd like to have a week to look at this before we pass it.
I'm there. I know that a lot of these individual spots, it's like any other committee or commission, would you like to volunteer to do this and come to work and spend your time doing this? And then the business community reps, a lot of those people have been doing it for some time. They are your CFOs, your CEOs, your whatever, who sometimes I question, they must want to do good work, because otherwise, yeah, thank you, sir, may I have another? And those were, for the most part, people who have been involved with this for a period of time, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That have knowledge and expertise in this area.
Right.
So it's not like we can just load it up with some of our friends.
No, and I will pay Geauga this compliment. I would say of our three counties that belong to this region, I'd say historically, Geauga has found some of the most competent people under WIOA to serve. In other words, under WIA, you could just appoint any old business representative would do. But I think Geauga has historically tried to find real high-level individuals who are with companies that are definitely players in economic development. They have a large number of positions, and they take workforce development very seriously. So I think Geauga County is in a very good position that if those individuals want to continue to serve, you could have all of those individuals serve. They meet the new criteria under the new law, whereas I'm not sure that all of those people in Portage County and Ashtabula do that. And those commissioners are going to have to reconsider their slates who are currently serving.
Well, I can understand Skip's concerns. However, we've been doing this since July of last year when this first started. Now, there was some screw-ups at the state level, if that's a complimentary way to say it, that they had this, and then they changed it, and then they changed it again, and then they changed it again. And at the end of the day, your head hurts. I would be prepared to make a motion to adopt this today with the caveat pending Laura's signed approval, because I haven't seen it. I unfortunately have not been here recently, and but I'd like to see this get moved forward, and I can't say for the other two, but pending Laura's okay or signing off on it, I'd be prepared to move it, because again, I can appreciate they aren't aware, because they haven't sat in some of those meetings where it's not like I can, I don't have a lot of latitude in who we appoint to these positions. They kind of have to fit a little hole, a pigeonhole or whatever that they go into, and they have to be willing to do it, which isn't always
Not easy. No.
Yeah,
We struggle.
And I've sat through this where you have gone, this person's here, well, this person doesn't want to do it anymore, but we've got someone else who does. So I would make the motion, I don't know if it'll get a second, that we approve this agreement pending a document from Laura. Is that?
The other thing you should know as well too is it's stated in the agreement, but I didn't hit upon it, is it's not sufficient either just for the commissioners to come up with the nominations. What we have to do on every single one of these positions, we have to go to groups and get nominations. So the way it works is for the business community reps. We can ask your economic development, so we can ask Geauga Growth Partnership to send over nominations. We can ask your chambers of commerce to send over nominations. Same thing with the apprenticeship position. We have to go to the state apprenticeship position. So basically, the choice that comes down to it is the nominations come up to the person serving on the Council of Governments for Geauga County. That individual then just chooses from the slate of nominations, in turn nominates them to the NOC-COG, and then the NOC-COG elects them as well too. We have to go about that process because they want to do, avoid just basically putting the burden strictly on the commissioners. They want us to basically, working with Christine, working with Dave, working with various organizations and our office, to go out and bird dog and try to find these people for you, because it is hard to find individuals who are willing to serve and put in this type of commitment.
So summarize for me, and Blake is right, I've not been sitting on this, he's much closer, he sits on these meetings regularly.
Right.
And I've got some discomfort with this whole regional thing anyway.
I understand.
And so, I think you do a fantastic job. As I have sit in on some of those meetings, Blake knows I go periodically just to be a fly on the wall. And I'm not excited about the changes that we're seeing. But for the people that are in the room, can you quickly summarize again the difference between where we were and where we're going to in terms of functionality?
So, most of the changes that are mandated upon us are on the advisory board, right, which is the workforce development board. It's these 33 slot positions. We have to change up who is on that board and get their board. But that board ends up being an advisory board to the Council of Governments. We made that change a while ago because, let's face it, at the end of the day, should we ever make a mistake on how we spend these dollars, we come back in and the money is, has to come out of the county's general fund. So that's why back in July 1 of 2013, we originally changed up the structure so that we would have this Council of Governments make really the final say. It's important, not only because if, again, we make an error, the counties end up having to pay for it, but also, let's face it, I mean, who's in a better position from a day-to-day position to make the final decision on economic and workforce development, but the representatives from each board of county commissioners. So we're keeping that basic structure. 99% of these changes really are changes mandated by federal law that you have to have in place in order to continue to receive the federal money, and most of those have to do with who sits on the advisory board, the workforce development board, which is basically a subcommittee of the Council of Governments. So I don't want to downplay the changes. We have to make them. They are serious. We've given a lot of thought to doing this agreement. All representative commissioners from each of the counties have sat in on that process, and we've asked them for their input and designed this document their way. But at the end of the day, the final thing, the most important things to happen are the monthly meetings by the Council of Governments where all actions that are proposed by the Workforce Development Board have to be ratified by that group, otherwise they never take effect. So
let me echo back what I think you said for my own purposes, because I'm trying to understand.
Sure.
So were we a Council of Governments before?
Yes.
So we've always been a Council of Governments?
Yes.
We're changing the board structure.
Changing the Workforce Development Board structure, which is basically a subcommittee of the Council of Governments. The Council of Governments is
It's
staying
not changed.
the same,
That's the
it's
same.
not
Okay.
changing.
So, but Ohio wanted us to change that.
No, not the Council of Governments.
What I think Skip is referring to is, I know he was at a meeting at the basement of Patterson Center back last summer when they were gonna redo the areas, and everybody had
Oh, yes.
I think that's what he's.
That's what I'm referring
The
to.
Yeah,
makeup
referring
of,
to
the
the-
makeup of the region?
Yeah.
So the makeup of the region is what has been stalled for some time. Last Wednesday, the Department of Labor informed the state of Ohio that their policy on local area designation was flawed and they have to rewrite it. I spoke to Ohio Department of Job and Family Services yesterday. They have indicated to us that as a result, certainly, and they've been telling us all along, that our county area region will stay the same until June 30th of 17. They're possibly going to open it up in 17 so that areas could move. But Portage would stay with us through June 30th of 17, and then at that point in time, it would be up to the counties here and our two partner counties to discuss whether we want to continue that, whether we want to expand it, and so on and so forth. So that particular is something separate. This arrangement would continue our operation through June 30th of 16 at a minimum, and then sometime in late 2016 here, we would have a discussion of whether we want to continue that or change up the organization. State of Ohio did want to change things up, but they really can't based upon a ruling by the Department of Labor. So.
Okay, the takeaway that I have, just, this is a personal viewpoint on this whole thing, okay? You've heard the term mandate, and you've heard the term federal government in the same sentence. Mandate and government equals socialism. Let's be very clear. This is government controlling output, and I object to that in all kinds of ways. Now, that's the reality of what we live with, and we have to deal with it and so forth. But for you to know, if you don't like this kind of stuff, you don't sit at the table, you don't watch what's going on behind closed doors, there's decisions being made that impacts your life, your tax dollars, and so on and so forth. And so we sit there at that table, and the most that I can do is voice my dissatisfaction with how the whole mechanism works. But you, the citizens of this county, have an opportunity to reach out to our elected officials and change this. Because this will only change at the federal level, at the state level, if we decide we want it to change. And I'm not happy with the outcomes. Again, we have to live with it. We're gonna deal with this, we're gonna approve this contract probably after whatever process we go through. But at the end of the day, you have to understand what's going on. Unless somebody says that to you, there's no way for you to know that this needs to change. Because this is not effective, it is not efficient, it is not getting the job done, it is wasting your tax dollars. In my opinion, that's my personal opinion. So for whatever that's worth, I'm just gonna make that statement, because it's, and that's not a shot at Craig, he does a
No,
great job.
no, it's not. No,
And the board,
right.
if I go to these board meetings, everybody's there with the right intent, the right interest, they wanna do the right, you know, the right things and all that kind of stuff. There's no slight or shot at anybody that's participating. It is the federal government deciding they know best on how to social engineer our workforce.
And then the state has a say too, so that's the unfortunate thing is, we see this program as it should be controlled locally by the commissioners here, because these are your federal tax dollars at work. Unfortunately, the money comes back to us with a set of rules or strings or whatever you want to call them, and then on top of it, the state imposes their rules and their strings, and we do whatever we can to fight, along with your commissioners association, to try to give you as the commissioners as much authority and as much discretion to spend this money. Unfortunately, there are quite a number of rules that we have to contend with, but that's a fair observation.
So, that's for somebody that's running for it.
They kind of want to, they're not giving us this money, they're allocating our money to us around the state by various areas. The workforce development aspect is a firm shutters its doors in Lake County or Geauga County, wherever they shutter their door, and a number of our residents become unemployed. And then where do they go get a job? A lot of these programs, and that's the consortium through Kent State and the ATEC, Auburn Career Center, and I forget the one down in Portage. Maplewood, thank you. A lot of this goes to retraining an employee, or in an effort to retrain them so that they can do another job that might be more in demand in their area, so that they can once again become gainfully employed and a productive member of society. I mean, it's like, you know, John Doe is an accountant, or he gets laid off as an accountant, but over here, they're hiring a lot of welders. So part of this program is to take John Doe, the accountant, send him to a vocational trade type school, get him certified as a welder, so he's has an employable skill.
Exactly. The only difference with that is that what we do first is we try to take people with salvageable skills, like the accountant there. We
Try to find him an accountant job.
We would try to find him an accountant job
right.
first, right?
I'm just saying, in the worst case scenario,
Right.
and we've exhausted my knowledge and expertise of it, because that's why you have these people that are in these certain pigeonholes.
Right.
Because they know where, rather than being a jack of all and master of none, these people have this expertise in these various areas. And while I think it would be fair for just about anybody to question the overall program, that's the way it works. I mean, you have this, or you have somebody walking the streets looking for a job when it says help wanted. I don't know that there's an in-between, short of the lottery.
Right.
Buy a ticket and maybe get lucky. So once again, we gotta move on, but I would make the motion to pass this intergovernmental agreement based on the final signature approval that I have not seen from Laura, that you said she talked about, right? But we don't have.
She's the one that actually suggested a change in language regarding the arbitration clause. And both the other counties agreed to it, and then Ashtabula County made the change to the language regarding Leo's for the nomination.
Right.
And Laura talked to Craig yesterday, and she said that she was okay with it. It's not really up to her, it's up to you guys.
That's absolutely true. So either way, we painstakingly went through this, so I'm confident in you passing this today. But if you want another week, I'm confident you'll review it, talk to Laura, and we'll come back. And I think you probably won't need changes, but either way, I'm happy to do whatever you wish.
Okay, so we have, I made motion, Ralph seconded.
We have two parts we have to do.
Okay,
We have a resolution number 16-029 authorizing the February 29, 2016 termination of the Northeast Ohio Consortium Council of Governments NACOG governing agreement established July 1st, 2013, and further authorizing the entry into an intergovernmental agreement compliant with the terms and conditions set forth within WIOA and its regulations. The subgrant agreement entered into with Ohio Department of Job and Family Services and Ohio Department of Job and Family Services WIOA policies commencing March 1st, 2016.
Okay, I'll make the motion to dissolve that former agreement.
Second.
Ralph,
Commissioner
second. Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Clickwell?
No.
And then the second part is the intergovernmental agreement for the Northeast Ohio Consortium Council of Governments.
Well, we already, but once again, make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Clickwell?
No.
I understand.
That's right.
So, that's why they don't want to.
That's the way it works.
And then Craig has something else he wanted to talk about.
So you've probably been receiving some things from the County Commissioners Association regarding the Comprehensive Case Management Employment Program. And there is going to, you do need to take an action between now and mid-May. And Ohio Department of Job and Family Services is actually asking you to do that as soon as possible. And that is to go ahead and recognize a lead agency to run this new program. We talked earlier about the fact that this was a federal program with the Department of Labor, then in turn that the state goes ahead and makes rules and laws associated with how we spend the money. That's exactly what this is. For years, we have done things a certain way in workforce. The state has come up via state law with this comprehensive case management and employment program. They're asking for us to have it in place by July 1, and it's pursuant to state statute and some Ohio administrative code that I think just cleared J-Cart clearance the other day. So it's a tall order for us to get this program ready by July 1, but I wanted to tell you we will be back here. We're not asking you to take any action on the lead agency today. I think we need to come back and do that with Craig Swenson here. But it will be our recommendation that the Geauga County Department of Job and Family Services be the lead agency. I don't think Craig is going to object to that. But because I know you've been receiving things from Ohio Department of Job and Family Services about the lead agency, and you've probably been receiving things from the County Commissioners Association, I just wanted to see if you had any questions about that whole process and about this program and where it's headed.
Is this, was it Denise? I keep getting my names confused. The group we had, who did this last time? Who did this before?
Well, that's just it, this is a brand new program,
This
this
is
is never, brand new program, never been
Okay, I'm
operated.
getting
before.
CGI.
That's the one, I'm getting confused with that one. Okay.
This is, unfortunately, this is, we talked about the money coming down from the federal government, and most of the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act then says that the discretion on how to spend this money then passes to the counties. This is the state saying, when it comes to your workforce youth dollars, we want you to spend it under the rules of the Comprehensive Case Management Program, which will kick in July 1. They passed this in state statute. In addition to that, the state is offering up some discretionary TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Family dollars. So this is a brand new program that has been passed by the governor. It's going to require actions by the county commissioners and workforce working in association with the Geauga County Department of Job and Family Services. We are handling it. We will be back to you with more information. You have a long agenda. I do not want to overburden it today, but just here though, I know you've been receiving things in case you had any questions. That's why I asked for it to be on the agenda. So if you don't have any questions, we can come back at a different day, a different agenda, and get the business done that we need to get done. Okay?
That's okay with me. But you come back another day, right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Craig.
Thanks for your pleasure.
Come on down.
Morning.
Hi, Glenn. Good morning, Glenn.
This is a service contract for our generators of our buildings throughout the county. We have approximately 7 of them. 470, we have a small one here at Building 8 for the emergency with the health department. All of the annex is on one. The courthouse, all our emergency stuff is on that one. We have one at the county home, EBS, and the lab at Chief Home. So this is a 2-year service contract. Hopefully, we don't use all of the 20,000. Last year, we only used approximately 50% of that to keep the generators up and running.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Maintenance Department is requesting the board approve an activity service contract agreement with Shep Electric Company Incorporated to perform inspections and maintenance services for Geauga County generators for the years 2016 and 2017 in amount not to exceed $20,000.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Spillier? Commissioner Claypool?
Thank you.
Thank
Good.
you.
Bye now.
Hello, Scott.
Morning.
How are you? How's everything?
Good.
As you know, we've been, for the last 2 years, trying to replace all the MDTs, all the computers in the cars. Through grants, we have been able to pretty much replace them all. This is another small grant. Every grant that comes across, we're applying for it to replace the MDTs. So, this is for 3 MDT replacements. We had another one that's a regional Homeland Security grant that we got 10 on. So we're going to be pretty close to having them all replaced by the end of this. And our deadline for law enforcement is the middle of March, because leads won't let them, anybody beyond their system is still using XP as a platform. So we're going to be in pretty good shape.
How many are there, Toby? Do you know?
We have about 45.
45?
These are Windows 10 based?
No, there's 7.
Windows 7 based.
We're always one version behind. And I don't know, I think part of that is Steve. He doesn't want to use, as soon as they get a new version out, he wants them to be on there for a while before he tries it. So, yeah, these are all 7.
Those are upgradable to 10?
Yes.
Sheriff's Office is requesting the board approve and authorize the president and board to execute the Office of Criminal Justice Services JLE Grant 2015 JGLE 5108 sub-grant award agreement for MDT replacements in the amount of $10,971.72, $9,874.55 from the Office of Criminal Justice Services, and a local match of $1,097.17 from the Sheriff's Law Enforcement Trust. This grant is for the period February 1st, 2016 through August 31st, 2016.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier? Commissioner Claypool?
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Michael.
Good morning.
Hi,
Good
Mike.
morning.
How
Good
are
morning. First one, number 14, pretty basic. We asked to hire a person. Mr. Toth, for a part-time driving position, but he has been unable to fill that due to a medical reason. And we're asking his to rescind that.
The Transit Department is requesting the board rescind a motion from January 21st, 2016 that read approve hiring James Toth to the position of part-time driver number 2210-1 to be effective February 1st, 2016 at a rate of $12.64 per hour. After the successful completion of a 1,000-hour probationary period, the rate would have increased to $13.30 per hour. Due to medical reasons, Mr. Toth was unable to begin working.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Okay. And in keeping with that, we're asking for permission to advertise for 3 positions positions for part-time driver. For this, one to replace this medical one. Also, as you know, we have not filled the position of a driver who passed away about 2 months ago, 3 months ago now. So, we'll get another one. Keep our, do what we need to do, I think.
The Transit Department is requesting the board grant permission to advertise for 3 positions of part-time driver number 2210-1. These positions will remain posted until filled.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Also, like to make a statement, if I can, that I've heard a lot here today about the JFS and workforce and everything else. I'm looking for 3 good people. I have a dearth of applicants, so if anybody knows anybody for a good, clean, part-time job, that's good pay for exactly what the job entails, I'd appreciate you sending them my way, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you directing that to the 3 of us?
I
I just wondered if you were looking at for drivers up here.
We were driving the transfer bus and Commissioner Chu.
If you qualify and think you can make it, we'll train you and have fun.
If you have your card, we'll get your position posted right away.
Okay, sure. All right.
Let me ask you something, Craig, real quick, before you leave.
Yes.
Are you posting some of our positions though currently that we put in for?
In the way of
Yeah.
the jobs that you're hiring with the county?
Yeah, because you may want to try to get together with Linda. We were just discussing that this morning, actually, about, different venues to be able to put job postings for even stuff that we have in-house here, so.
I don't know if we're posting the jobs, but if not, we should be, and we want to be.
Yeah, because that might be something that.
Commissioner, they do send that to GFS.
Oh, do you?
They do,
Okay.
okay,
Great.
okay, so,
And
all
the
right,
surrounding townships and everybody.
Right.
okay,
Because that way then it gets into the high means job system, which is linked into Monster, so you're getting all those applicants that are required. And right now, if you're filed for unemployment, you have to be filed in Ohio Means Jobs, at least at your 9th week of unemployment. So, good, I'm glad that we're linked in, but that goes for anybody. If you have a posting, we'd love to be posting for it and trying to find you help.
okay,
So,
yep, thank you.
thank you.
Anything else? Commissioner's Office is requesting the board approve next week resolution number 16-028 honoring Leadership Geauga 2016 Emerald Leader Award winner D. Kevin O'Reilly.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
No, we do 17 and 18 together.
It's a question on this one, Mr. Holmes.
17 and 18.
Yeah.
It's up to them.
Yeah, they may be, yeah, they may have other ideas.
We can do that. Which I guess would,
So we're gonna.
let me sign that, and there would,
We're probably gonna,
Skip 17, 18.
We're gonna
Cancel.
do-
Just stay on the same.
Axe these two? Is that what you're gonna do?
Yeah.
Just
just take them
take them
off.
off?
Yep.
Okay.
Unless Skip has I mean,
I'm not following the conversation.
There,
we were gonna originally try to, I canceled the, meeting for Tuesday, but we're gonna have the meeting on Tuesday
Instead of Thursday.
instead of Thursday.
So we'll still hold it on Tuesday, like we would normally would.
yeah, it's election day.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm
I'm
good
neutral
either
on
way.
I'm really care.
Okay, then we'll just remove 17 and 18 from the agenda.
Before
You
we
know
go
a
in,
little folder for this thing?
I will. I have the,
So I'm better
You're
not,
good.
I better not bend it, huh? Okay.
I heard that there may be at least one commissioner, possibly more, that wants to consider an executive session before we look at item 19, so.
okay. Before we do that, one of the motions I wanted to make was
For Dale?
For Dale Wedge. I'd like to try to make a motion to waive
The 200-hour
the $200 $200
hour vacation
200 hour
cap.
Yeah,
Because the commissioners passed an action a while back to stop people from building up a lot of vacation. So in the commissioner's hiring authority policy, you must keep your vacation hours accumulated under 200 hours. If you let it go over 200 hours, you forfeit that time, you lose that time. In the case of our DES director, he's got, struggling with that a little bit because he has an assistant director position that's been vacant now for a couple months due to the departure of a former employee. And so the request would be for the board to put I was gonna ask Linda about this, by our policy, the commissioners can, and we did it for the building department.
Yes.
Commissioners can waive that cap for department for specific purposes, and this would be an appropriate thing to do.
Well, I spoke with Bill this morning. He's got about a month before it becomes an issue. So we do have time to put together a request for action and get that done before it's an issue for him.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
So then, if we want to, then if we could wait, then maybe we'll hold off on getting a vote for it, and then, but if we could do that before the time lapse.
Oh, yeah,
then-
we'll have it in
We'll
place
put it on
before
for
he
next
would,
week.
yeah, we'll have it in place before he has a danger of losing time.
I didn't know anything about this, but what I'm guessing, is this for an indefinite period of time? Is it for a finite period of time that,
Typically, you do it for a period of time where, the thing that's causing someone not to be able to take vacation. In this case, he's down an employee in a small department, he's lost 33% of his staff.
Well, I understand the thing, I just didn't know, whether, I don't wanna say precedent setting or anything like that, but,
We did it for the
may-
building department.
Right, I know, but not indefinitely,
No,
right?
no.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
No,
is
we were trying to fill
we
it.
can make exceptions, which we
Right.
should, in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
cases, but we need to have some, I think we need to have some guidelines,
Yeah.
because, he's got, aren't we looking for somebody for that job?
We are. We
That's-
actually,
I mean,
we're down, we're
I
down.
thought we were, but then there'll be some, probably training time or some,
Right.
some extenuating cert, till they get that
Right,
up and he gets back to.
exactly. So, I mean, we'll come up with language with kind of,
Okay,
it'll spell
yeah,
out.
I have no problem with it,
How long
I'd
this
just
will be.
like to see it in
Yeah.
black and white.
Yeah.
Now, we're going into executive
Move
session?
into executive session for the purposes of discussing the employment of public employees in the Commissioner's office.
Yes.
I'd make that motion.
Do we wanna do two exec, do we
We
wanna
have to
just
do it
cover?
We have to do
We
it
have to do
separately.
it
They have to be
separately,
separate.
because they got different,
Different subjects.
subjects. One's for one thing and one's for another.
Two different,
Heading.
one's employment, one's discipline, and two different departments.
Right.
Do you wanna do that, or do you wanna just put it at the end and we could do both and then?
No, we still have to come out of one, I think we have to, because they're two different paragraphs that you go in by,
Well, I
so.
would probably, though, suggest that we do, as Ralph suggested, we could go into one, keep them to the word tail end, we'll go in, come out, go in,
That's
come
fine,
out.
we'll just move it down.
Whatever,
It'll
whatever.
just make it easier than, I think.
Okay, so then we're on to number 20.
We'll,
That's
20.
20 to 23 are all related together.
So, yeah, I asked, we've got some vacancies on the planning commission we need to fill. I've talked to every person who has submitted an application. The following individuals are the ones that I would put forward. Willing to hear anybody else's ideas or thoughts on this, and I can justify or defend each of the individuals that I put down. The fourth seat, there's 4 seats actually to fill in the planning commission. The fourth one I'm wavering on because we've got 2 or 3 people that could probably fill that seat, and I just don't have mentally a tiebreaker on that. But if you don't mind, I can talk to you about those 3 individuals that whose names I put forward and defend those, and then we can have a discussion with them.
I kind of, to be honest with you, I'm really not, I don't feel comfortable moving on it until I review it one more time. Let me just look at, because I had just got another applicant, what was it? Thursday, another copy of resumes. Let me just, I don't have I know Chester is, and I think he would probably be a good one. Let me just review these other 2. Is this, Okay, Thomas Jones is actually, is this?
Yes.
Thomas Jones, okay.
Let me give you my case for these three individuals, and Blake, where are you on this? Are you ready to pass it, or are you ready to?
No, I
you wanna
wouldn't
come
be,
back?
I wouldn't be making or seconding a motion today.
Okay, so, as I said, I've talked to everybody in the planning commission, including those people who were seated and so on and so forth. The following are my reasoning for these three individuals. Charlie Stevens, who was at one time a Chester resident, he's moved away for some time now, is living in, I think it's
Montville.
Montville, right. He has a lot of experience in the planning area. He was a Chesterland trustee, I think, at one time. He's got a very rich background. He's a very bright guy, runs a business, and owns a piece of acreage in the Montville area. So his background and experience would lend him to be very sensitive and understand the whole planning process, the impacts of planning and zoning and so on and so forth on individuals, with his experience both in the Chesterland, on the zoning boards and so on and so forth. He just has the kind of experience that would fit the bill relative to being sensitive to planning and what we need to have on that planning commission. And Chester Miller is an Amish guy. It's tough to get Amish folks to step up sometimes to be a part of the process, but they're a valuable part of our community. I've talked to 2 or 3 Amish individuals about serving, what their thoughts were. I thought that there was another individual who was going to do that. He owns a business, but Tuesday was a problem for him. And so Chester was the one Amish guy that was willing to step up. And he's willing to step aside should somebody else have an interest. But he's an engaged individual. He's already on a number of boards in the county. He's somewhat of a known commodity relative to that. He actively supports the Amish community, understands the Amish community, all the issues around planning, how it impacts people. He has a business in Middlefield Township, and he's a good guy, a good judgment, and so forth. Tom Jones, I think many of us know Tom Jones. What some people do not know about Tom Jones, possibly, is that he's a farmer, local farmer, runs a horse operation in Auburn. Is that correct? And he's also been extremely engaged. As anybody that knows Tom for a long time, he attends township meetings, he attends multiple township meetings, county commissioner meetings, other meetings. He recently had an issue with the township in terms of them preventing him from putting up a windmill, which he was involved in a lawsuit, won the lawsuit, rightly so, because it was an agricultural purpose thing. And in that particular lawsuit is now serving as a case study in college as to the what not to do as a zoning official. And so his background and experience and his impact directly on the part of what zoning and planning does to individuals, I think would reflect positively in the planning commission, and he'd be able to bring his background and experience to the planning commission and help that board to make good decisions. And so there's a few other people that I have not, I've talked to, as I said, talked to everybody. There are 3 individuals, and I have the file here, that I might consider to fill that 4th slot. I was really wavering a little bit. James Schaefer, who has a home in Florida, is actually living there now. He's a long-time experienced citizen of Geauga County. He's been serving on the board. He's a good guy. He's up there in years, and he's a senior-level experienced guy, to say the least. However, his age, and he was commenting to me that he was thinking that maybe he would look for other opportunities, but he's willing to serve, and he's a good guy. Jeff Huntsberger has been serving. He's an attorney that's currently been serving on the board, and there is value in having an attorney on the board. He and I don't always see eye to eye on things, but sometimes it's valuable to have somebody that challenges you and you don't see eye to eye with. The other person, who I don't know that well, is Lori Benza, or Sass Benza, out of Bainbridge. Bainbridge is a large community, and she's also an attorney. Again, another individual who sometimes we don't see eye to eye, sometimes we do. Those are individuals that I've talked to that I respect, even though sometimes we aren't necessarily on the same page. There's one other guy that I talked to who was very interesting, and that's Mr. Chalker Grasser, Charles Grasser. And he's got a very interesting background. His education is in landscape architecture. He's a landscape guy, also impacted by zoning and other planning activities in the community. He's a business guy that's impacted by decisions that come out of the planning commission. I had a very positive, I've never met him, we talked on the phone. I had a positive conversation with him, and so he would be somebody I would be comfortable with. So that's my take on those individuals. We need to move on this decision process. The planning commission needs to have those folks in the meeting. I think that there's gonna be a meeting tonight, is that correct? Is that meeting still on?
I would feel comfortable with Chester and Tom. The only reason I'm not comfortable with Charles is I haven't talked to him. You know, I've talked to these two, I have not talked to, Charles. I'd like to talk to him because it's a critical
Yeah, no,
position.
I think you.
I mean, if we had agreement on Tom and Chester, I would be okay with that one, but for number 20, I would like to talk to him and just ask him some questions.
Well, one of the side things on
I haven't
Charles.
talked to him. Have you talked to him?
I know him. My issue with all of this is, and Skip is right, we've had an opening that he hasn't filled because it's his call for over a year. Well, that's not exactly true, because I tried to work with you a year ago when we put Kathy Kopman on, who is a well-qualified person, and said, well, why don't we put Trace Engel back on there, and I never got any response from you. The interesting thing about this is that until you just mentioned those names for this blank spot, you have pretty much shunned, anyone that served on the prior planning commission and have essentially tried to steer it toward your acquaintances, your friends, your whatever, and I, at the risk of getting into an area I really don't want to feel, I'm not emotionally strong enough right now to get into this area, but you have taken some very fine people, dismissed them without cause, except that you didn't put them on there so that you could put your people on there. And I find that reeks of what you criticized your predecessor as far as, what was that, favoritism, cronyism, and all the isms, that you had no real compunction to take off Mr. Lawson, Mr. Huntsberger, Mr. Schaefer, Mr. Tracy Engel, as though they were in some fashion responsible for some dastardly planning issue that you perceive. So replacing these folks with your hand-picked people will never result in a affirmative vote from me. But you two are welcome to do what you want. I just think the whole thing has an odor about it.
And let me respond, Blake.
I'm sure you will. Go ahead.
Because it does have a bit of a bad smell to it, and let me put it to this way. There's 3 commissioners at this table. Every commissioner at this table has a right and a responsibility at any point in time to bring forward individuals. If you felt strongly about Mr. Engel, you had a right through the entire year to bring him forward and to ask for an up or down vote. You didn't do that. You sat there pouting.
No, there's no pouting involved,
because you didn't want to bring that forward. Now,
I brought it
now hang on, let me finish. I let you finish.
Go ahead.
All right. And so we have a responsibility to replace board members. We have a process, and we allowed that process to go forward where we asked people to submit their names into the queue. I have absolutely nothing against any of the sitting individuals. In fact, as I brought up Mr. Huntsberger's name.
Yes,
as
you
an
did.
individual that I would consider.
And Mr. Schaefer's as
And-
well.
And I would talk, and I talked to every one of them. Did you talk to any of the candidates, I would ask you?
I've talked to some
And
that
so-
are no longer being in consideration, yes.
And so, but you didn't talk to any of the others that were submitted. I'm being as fair as I can be in this
The
process.
only one I
because-
don't know is Chester
Wait,
Miller.
You're interrupting, let me have my say. I gave you an opportunity.
Go ahead.
And so, in this process, I am looking to try and refresh the tree. We've had individuals sitting there for a long time, and we continue to get the same result out of the planning commission. I'd like to see a new direction, some new thinking brought to that board, so we can have some new excitement in the planning process. And I don't want to get into some of what I see as challenges. You and I both sit on the board. I've expressed some of those in the planning commission, because I think that there's things that we need to be doing in this county to improve things, and the planning commission is not working in that direction at this point in time. And so I do have an interest in bringing some new thinking to that board, so we can kind of refresh how we look at planning and zoning and so on and so forth. I brought them forward. It's not my handpicked people, because I don't make the decision. At least two of us on this board have to make the decision. And so I put forth the people, I gave the rationale, I gave my argument for why I was supporting these individuals, and then three of us make a choice. That's the way the process works. There is no cronyism going on here, and by the way, this is a volunteer position. These are not paid positions, nobody benefits from this. We gotta thank people for stepping up.
I've
and
been saying that
volunteering
for a long time,
to-
sir.
To sit in this position. So, I am offended by the fact that you think that I'm handpicking people when the three of us vote. And so, if you have a problem with that, then I suggest you do your job, you call the people, you interview people, and then you get a chance to weigh in, because that's the way the process works. So, with that said, did you want to make a motion for anybody, or do we want to set it aside for a week? I'm okay setting aside for a week, or, nominating and approving the people that we agree on today.
Well, let me ask you this, Blake, you know Charles Stevens,
I do know.
and you're okay with him?
I would, I think that I would have preferred one of the people that,
So let me
that
ask you
had
then,
come
what
off
about for
before.
number 4, then, this Angle keeps on coming up, and he
well,
serves on
he
there-
was very, very qualified person.
serves on there, time and time again. We're gonna have another,
Mhm.
a 4th position here. Skip says he knows Charles, you said you know Charles. I trust both of you that, you're making a good decision. I haven't talked to him. I know Chester, and he's a very, very intelligent guy, very attention to detail. Tom Jones, we all know Tom is, he's as dedicated as probably I've ever seen member of the public. I don't know, him and Walter, I think, are fighting for the Guinness Book of World Record if we can attend more meetings. But
I think they live in a room. I think they sleep in that closet outside. Never checked it,
Right.
That's where I
But,
think they're at.
I think these are all good people, and if you wanted to do that Angle for the 4, I'd take both your words that they're, good people on that. I just, I'm okay.
I don't know Chester, all
Okay.
right? I know that he's an Amish fellow.
Yep.
I have talked to people in the past, there have been Amish on the planning committee in the past.
He's pretty point,
Can he
very-
get here?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's
He's a guy that if he gives you your word, I've known him for probably 15 years, and I
Okay,
have to say, he's very honorable, he's very, he had a very key position at one of the factories in Burton, and supervisory role, so he takes his positions very serious, and I'll be honest with you, him and I have pretty much had some very engaged conversations. If he doesn't like the way something is going, he will tell you, so it's good.
My concern because this is what I'd been told by veterans over there,
Okay.
that they had Amish on the board in the past.
Right, right.
I remember the last planning meeting I went to, I was shoveling a fair amount of snow off the top of my car when we came out of there. And the issue with the planning commission has been, many times they have to cancel the meeting because they don't have a quorum.
Okay.
They don't have, the people can't, or don't get there, can't get there, whatever the reason. I know quite frequently
I
we're
think you would be
canceling.
the exception to the rule.
And I'm certainly not passing any
Yeah,
judgment
yeah.
on it, I just, it's a question.
Yeah.
Can he get here
Yeah.
in, bad weather, or this, that, or the other thing?
I think that.
I guess if you wanna put these folks on, I still have,
And then as far as per number, is it a total of 4?
There's a total of
there's
four.
4 spots open.
So-
There was one that's been there open for a while,
That's
and
the
then
last
3
one
this
that
year.
has no.
So
There's
then,
one that's gonna be
is
a
that
two-year- it's gonna be a
ENGLE
two-year
or
commitment.
ANG?
And then he could fill the remainder of that term. I mean, I'm lukewarm on Engel because he's been there, he's a rubber stamper, basically, and so, he rubber
Well, he's got
stamps.
some experience, though.
Yeah,
He knows the process, so.
I would I'll probably go ahead with this. I mean, there's other people that he mentioned that I would, Lori Sass-Benza is, well, she sits on the other side of the aisle from me. I do know that she's a very honest and straightforward, intelligent type, problem-solving person. I've had some dealings with her. Schaefer is, I didn't think he was that old. I think he's younger than me.
No.
And now, are we talking law? Schaefer's the geothermal guy.
Geothermal guy.
Okay. Chuck is,
Yeah, not Chuck, no.
Chuck is very, he's,
Him, I think, is a.
okay. Well, I could go with either Lori Benza or Tracy Engel in that position. Huntsberger is also another, you mentioned him, he's a very bright guy, but, I don't know, Skip said he had some issues.
No, I just said that both with Lori, as you said, they're on the other side of the aisle, so to speak. And so sometimes we don't think alike and there's a little bit of a struggle. I don't have any problem with that. You and I don't always see eye to eye, and I'm not having any
Really?
issues with you. You have issues with me, but I don't have issues with you. That's all right. But with that said, sometimes it's valuable having people at that table. Now,
I
I would feel more comfortable with either Tracy or Jeff on this.
What?
I mean, whatever
Tracy,
you call it. I'm comfortable with those two.
I spoke to him, I don't really, I wouldn't ever profess that I know him that well, but I know he knows what his job is, what he's doing. He came highly
Who's
recommended.
that?
Tracy?
Angle.
Okay,
So if you wanna put that name in,
that's fine. So then why don't,
and I,
are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. So we're gonna go with
So we'll do
Stevens, Miller,
Charles
Jones, and
Stevens,
Engel?
yeah, Chester Miller, Thomas Jones, and Tracy Engel.
Okay, so we're ready to move with 2023.
Okay.
yeah, 20 through 23. I'll make the
I'm gonna
motion.
change these to say, instead of him, I'm gonna change them to the board. Commissioner's Office is requesting the board appoint Charles R. Stevens to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2018. The Commissioner's Office is requesting the board appoint Chester Miller to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2018. The Commissioner's Office is requesting the board appoint Thomas Jones to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2018. The Commissioner's Office is requesting the board appoint Tracy Engel to the Planning Commission for the unexpired vacant term ending December 31st, 2017.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Spillier? Commissioner Claypool?
How you make sausage?
Okay, now, 24 through
27, right?
27.
27, okay.
So as you're, I think I brought up, NOACA is putting together a rural advisory council. And, well, I'm not happy about the fact that they're doing that. They are, and so we're asked to make nominations or recommendations for people in certain categories. They were looking for somebody, the conservation specialist, a trustee, somebody from the agriculture area. Fourth.
Planning, township, conservation,
planning,
and
that's right.
agriculture industry.
Right. And so, considering, and these are individuals that I had thought might bring the best qualities to that board because of their background and experience. Kathy Kottman, she's on the planning commission. She's very dedicated. She attends all kinds of zoning meetings. She knows planning inside and out, and she's an environmental engineer on top of all of that. Mike Pezzullo, because he is a trustee, that's one of the check boxes. He's very familiar with NOACA. I was trying to come up with other trustees whose name I might suggest or be comfortable with, but I couldn't think of anybody that really knew NOACA, and Mike knows NOACA, so I'm open to any other suggestions in that category. I just couldn't come up with anybody. John Orles, he's our head conservationist for Geauga County. I thought he would be somebody that NOACA couldn't object to. He's a good guy, runs all of our parks. I spoke to Paul Harris, who's our Fair Board president. He was going to get back to me today, and I haven't heard anything from him. I had also put in the name of Bob Rogish, who is a farmer, works on Patterson's Farms, is on the Soil and Water Department. I think he was like a triple threat relative to his background and experience and ability to represent the interest, multiple interests across our county. So that's the reasons that I thought that those names would be good people to sit on this rural council. At the end of the day, NOACA can ignore everybody that we put in and put their own people in, because that's the way that they operate. Or they can take our recommendations. So those are the individuals. If you've got somebody else to put on the table.
Have you had discussions with NOACA about this?
I have not talked to NOACA about it. They asked, we have until, what, the 17th, I think?
No, March 11th. They just
March
asked
11th,
that
okay.
any interested candidates for the positions submit their,
An application form.
a
which we have,
nomination
so.
form to NOACA by Friday, March 11th.
And it is the External Affairs Committee, the only committee they allowed me to sit on, that will be considering this next step. And so I'm on the External Affairs Committee. We'll take these recommendations back to the External Affairs Committee, and then they make some decisions and whatever they do. So I have not talked to them for a variety of reasons. I wanted to get your guys' blessing before I reached out to them, so.
I see a problem here. Imagine that. But I see a problem that we're going to nominate members to the Rural Planning Commission, Rural Advisory Council. And 3 of those 4 live in the urbanized area of the county. I'm not necessarily questioning anyone's qualifications or ability. I'm questioning whether or not these appointees, and especially 75% of them, will meet the litmus test that NOACA will apply with regard to Rural Advisory Council. I know everyone on the list. The one I think you mentioned that, well, he now lives in Chesterland, grew up in Chardon and has worked on a farm since high school, would be Mr. Rogish. And he was, I don't know, Fair Board president, a member of the Farm Bureau, and the reason he moved to Chesterland is he bought a tree farm, so he's still farming. I don't really have any huge objection to any of these other people, except they live in the urbanized area of the county. And just seems that it's gonna meet some, you know, what's wrong with the other 16 townships, especially the ones out in the middle and eastern corridor? There's some great people out there. And I think we need to maybe open this up a little bit. Mr. Oros, the only problem I have against Mr. Oros is he's a busy man with parks. You know, it's like, there's a lot of jobs, but there's 93,000, 95,000 people in the county. We can spread those jobs around to a lot of other people. That's my only complaint with this. I don't, I'll be surprised if it meets the, passes muster at NOACA.
Well, like you, I don't think anything we send to NOACA is gonna be acceptable because they have an agenda. And they probably already have handpicked some people that they would like to represent their interest, not our interest.
I don't know
And
that.
so it is up to us to find people who represent our interest. I didn't check the addresses of the people. I checked their
Well-
background and the qualifications, and I said, okay, who is the most qualified conservationist in Geauga County? I think the most qualified guy is the guy that heads up our park system. We got 10,000 parks. John Oros is
10,000
probably...
acres, not 10,000 parks.
Excuse me, 10,000 acres. It's soon to be 10,000 parks if some
Yeah,
have
yes.
their say about it. And so with that said, John Oros is a, you know, he has every conservationist under the sun working for him, in addition to managing a complicated park system. I think he can represent the conservation community very well. Same thing with Bob Rogish. Now, Bob Rogish and I don't even see, there's some things we don't see eye to eye on. But I know Bob well enough to know that he is a farmer. He works for Patterson Farms. He knows the agriculture business. He was on the farm board. He was on the fair board.
He's president of
And
Fairfield.
president of the fair board. I mean,
No,
there's-
no,
there are a few people that understand the agriculture community as well as Bob Rogish. And so if NOACA's got a problem with that, then they've got an agenda that circumvents it. And by the way, when you say urbanized community in Geauga County, I cringe at that a little bit. Yeah, Chesterland might be considered, but I'm on a 5-acre lot. I'm not in Cleveland.
It goes by population.
And so I understand.
Yeah,
I know the definition.
I didn't set the guidelines. You
I
know
know
that,
the
Skip. I mean, it's Bainbridge,
And so-
South Russell.
They supplied that with the paperwork that they sent us.
Did they what?
They supplied that to us based on where our seeds come from. This is who they are asking. for.
Yeah, it's on that, yeah, I saw that.
Based on that.
I don't have it, but.
Yeah, so with that said, I mean, we have the highest, this is interesting, because we have the highest representation within the rural, four, yeah.
Four.
And
There's
so.
4 at large.
We have, and 4 at large. And so, I mean, everybody's name I put on this list, I can defend strongly because of their background and their experience, and I know they're gonna look out for Geauga County. If you've got other names, bring them. We've got a deadline and a time. I brought this up a couple weeks ago, to say, hey, this is where this is going. If you got a name, bring it to the table. So, these are the names I'm putting on the table. If you got somebody better, put the name on the table. We need to complete this process so that we can move forward. And so, I'm ready to do this today. If you guys wanna have another week, whatever the case happens to be, let me know, but we need to get this done.
I'm just, as I sit here, I'm 98% sure this will not pass muster down there and we'll be back. Or they'll be appointing someone to it.
Okay, well,
For us.
could possibly, they will have a hard time justifying not picking Bob Rogish, John Oros, they might pick on Mike Fitzgerald a little bit, and Kathy Cotton. There are no more qualified people in this county. If they pick somebody else, then let's go do battle, as far as I'm concerned.
You're the resident NOACA expert. They don't need to justify anything.
That's exactly right, they don't. And so therefore, it makes no difference. And so let's pick the best people we think are gonna fit in those boxes, and then let's have a discussion with them.
Let's table this until the next meeting. We'll see. When is the date? The 11th?
Friday, the 11th. So next
Friday, that's this week.
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Next Friday,
We have a
right,
meeting
next
on
Friday.
Tuesday the
Yeah,
8th, and then
by
by
okay.
Friday, we have to have nominations.
Yeah, my days are, yes.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? You've been quiet on this?
I mean, I'm with both of you. I agree with both of you. We're kind of like, I think that at the end of the day, you've got this Kathy Common who sits on our planning. You've got Petra Zulo, who I know has taken a good position on zoning and, you know, conservation issues in Chesterland. You got John Oros, who definitely has you know, a lot of experience, a lifetime working at the park, and Bob Rogish, same thing. He's got farming experience, Farm Bureau, Fair Board. He's, you know, very, very down to earth and wants to keep Geauga in a rural position more than most people I know. So all four of them I'm okay with. I just, you know, if I don't, we're kind of like at their mercy of, if they do this, they do it. If they don't, they don't. I mean, it's kind of like a tough thing that we're caught between a rock and a hard place with them. And so
We can't base our decisions though on what we think they're gonna do. We
Right.
have to make the best decisions we
I
can.
mean, I don't have a problem with any of these people. It's just, if you wanted to submit them, I think they're all gonna serve this county well. It's just, you know, do you wanna throw them in that dogfight?
Hey, they've stepped up. I asked them, I talked to them about it, they know what they're up against, and every one of them has said they're willing to do it, including John Orles, who is a very busy guy. But, you know, it's important. This rural council is gonna be very important, because the decisions that are made through that rural council, you know, they're using this to circumvent us.
And also with Rogish, he's got the soil and water.
Yeah, I mean, Bob Rogish
So, I
is
mean,
perfect,
that's-
because
that's
he
good.
covers multiple constituencies.
Yeah.
They have
So-
completed these and included their resumes. Do you want me to, Skip just gave this to me yesterday and this morning.
I mean, I know all of them, so I mean,
Want to review them?
I don't need to, because I know them. I mean, unless you need to review them.
I just think that it's another,
Like, would we be, like, let me ask you, like, is it, are you looking for some other people, or?
I
are we
would
just
be looking
saying to-
seriously, like in the one for the township official representative.
Okay. I mean, like.
Mike probably do a great job, but if I'm a township trustee in one of the more rural counties, or rural, excuse me, rural townships in our county, maybe it's just me, but I'm gonna take a little offense at that, at the fact that someone who's lived in the county for, I don't know, 12, 15 years, I don't know how long Mike's lived here, but it's just, he's not a native, not that that's a prerequisite, but someone that's lived out in the Burton, Middlefield, Montville, Thompson, somebody that's really in the rural community that can tell us what the rural problems or what are the perceptions of the rural residents are, and not echo from 306 what the problems are along the 528 corridor. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. I'm just saying, if you're, you know, if we were doing something on the quote-unquote urbanized area and sending representatives in, I don't think we'd get everybody that's east of 528 on there. It just seems to, it seemed to be contradictory to what they were asking for and what we would like. Mr. Oros, I got no problem with John Oros, but he's not the only, and nor is he necessarily the best conservationist. You got Dan Best over there. You got some of the people that work in the park who do not have the title of park board director. It doesn't seem to be, you know, there's a couple other conservationists that work in that environment that might be considered as knowledgeable and less political. Kathy, once again, she has a planning environment. I'm not sure that when we go to the rural area that
how much they wanna plant. They wanna plan on whether we plant corn in this field or soybeans in that field, or what we wanna do. And I don't mean to demean anybody, I'm just saying it's a different mindset and environment. Bob Rogish, I'll give you Bob Rogish. He has all of the credentials, and as I said, he now lives in the Chesterland area because that's where he bought a tree farm. He had lived out in Chardon Township prior to that. He's a native. I think he was born in Munson, so you know he's mid-county there. I think we're all in agreement that Rogish would be a good choice. You know, we can send down names, and then Skip is correct. You sit on the committee that will put these people on, but it'll be a committee decision, correct? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be a committee decision, and
Well, it won't even be that committee's decision. That committee will forward the general decision to the board. Now, I'm thinking there's two ways this is gonna go. Either NOACA is sensitive to the political nature of what's going on. I just got a call from Grace Gallucci last week regarding this whole earmark thing. There is some sensitivity to the fact that they've stripped us, not just us, by the way, Medina and Lake County, from dollars, because their new scoring mechanism favors Cleveland and Cuyahoga County. They have put in place a mechanism, and they've been working on it for years, to weigh Cleveland and Cuyahoga County as more important. I think that there's some sensitivity on their part that they've been doing that. That's part of the reason for this rural council, is to maybe try to reach out. You see them coming to Chardon to take our road dollars and put them into sidewalks. And they were out in the bicycle. Am I being a little cynical? Am I coming across it? Was that my outside voice? Did I say that? And they were out meeting with the buggy lane guys, because there is some sensitivity in that part. So there is an opportunity for them to go with our recommendations here, particularly because, again, I think that it is hard for them to disagree with any of these individuals, because these are very qualified. If they do that, then we have an opportunity to make some public comments on that. And so the individuals that I selected, and I did this very intentionally, were the most qualified people that I could think of. Now, if there's other we got 93,000 people in this county. We got a tremendous county with a lot of great qualified people. I don't know them all. I knew these people. I knew what their background was. I've experienced with them. I know how they're going to, the kinds of things that they're going to, how they're going to react in meetings with NOACA. I knew who NOACA is, and so I'm kind of trying to think through all of it to say, how is it that we're going to come out on the winning end of this if we're in a NOACA situation? And so, again, I'm thinking these guys are some of the best in these particular categories, and I'm open-minded. I just got a text from Colin Harris, so he's been bowing out for the very reason. So it is hard to get people to volunteer for these positions on top of all of that. But, so, you're right. We can submit these names and they can turn them down. But that could happen for any name that we submit. I'm not willing to make my decision based on what I think NOACA is gonna do. I'm gonna make the best decisions that I can, and then if they turn them down, I'm gonna fight them like hell, because that's what we need to do. We have for too many years allowed ourselves to be, I hate to use this term, victimized. We give $26 million both to the state of Ohio and to the federal government, and we've been getting back 6. We're gonna get back less than that now. And for years, we found that acceptable, and we're not willing to say anything. That's embarrassing, that the elected officials that represent us, at both at the State House, in the Congress, at the county, are not willing to take a stronger stance on these kinds of things. And I'm sorry, I'm in one of those moods today, and I apologize to the board and I apologize to you guys. But anyway, that's my feeling on it, and I'm just being as brutally honest as I can. These are good people, and if you want to wait a week, okay, we got until the 11th. Bring me some better names, and then we'll have a discussion about it. If you, and I'm ready to make a decision personally, but that's me.
Ball's in your court.
Well,
I'm ready, I mean, I'm okay with them.
then you
If you
guys
want
make,
more time,
you guys make,
I'm
well,
okay.
I just think that, it makes the county and some of us look a little, like chumps when you sit here and go, it's a rural advisory council, and, 3 of the names, that, Rogish is, probably the most qualified of the 4 names that are there in his area. I'll be dumbfounded I'll be dumbfounded if they're approved at the NOAC level.
Blake, I'm stunned by the fact that you would call Chesterland an urbanized area. I know.
I grew up there, buddy.
I know that-
It's an urbanized area.
I
You
know
got,
that-
you
I
got
know that
2,
technically-
you got 2, 3 stoplights now? My God, 4 stoplights? It's urbanized.
I know that
There was-
technically because we touch the urbanized area in Cleveland, we technically kind of are called, but Geauga County's rural. The entire county is rural. Bainbridge, and well, you don't. Okay, maybe not the city of Chardon, but I mean, generally speaking, even the
They have
people.
more
in-
stoplights than the
I
rest of the
don't-
county.
I don't.
You do what you want. I won't be voting on it. So, I mean, you want to make the motion, and Ralph wants to second it, and you 2 vote for it. And then we go into executive session here and move on with our day.
I think you called this me, boy.
I think he did. I live on 5 acres. I'm a farm boy. I got rabbits and deer and raccoons and.
I don't care. If you wanna make a motion, I'll move on it and get this behind us and see what happens in a week from now.
I'm gonna be the, I'll give Blake his due. We'll wait till Tuesday and we'll see who comes to the table and then I'll be ready to make a motion and move on.
I do think though, as far as with Oros, I think that could be a value for the NOACA thing, because I think that he does have value as far as overseeing 10,000 acres in this county. The other thing too is I don't know if there's a possibility for us to maybe bring in somebody from the city of Akron, because of the fact that they have 20,000 acres, to be able to have a position for water quality, that's something that they're near and dear to, that we could say the city of Akron has a representation here, because they're our largest land bearer in this county.
Wouldn't it require them to be a resident of the county, though?
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I'm.
Right, I'm just saying, if it's not a requirement, you know, I mean.
I don't
parks
disagree
and-
with you, I just
and
don't know.
Akron to be able to sit there, I think that John is a good choice for that, because of just the massive amount of property and projects that they might be interested in with John, that maybe John could take advantage of too. And so I'm just putting it out there. I mean, it might be a call, Dave, if we can maybe try to get some information on that for Akron.
It just
Yeah.
says background and expertise of the individual. It doesn't say anything about them having to reside.
It doesn't, there's no residency?
All right.
You know, so I'm just saying that as far as that goes, you know,
We'll try and track down, there was a Kim Coy used to be the
Kim
guy.
Coy, yeah,
I don't
he
know if
used to
he's
be
still
in
there or not.
Akron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's still there or not.
Keep in mind, we need somebody who is used to operating in a tiger's den. Because when you go into a NOACA situation, they will mislead you, they will steer you, they will beguile you, they will do everything that they can to take, and more often than not, they're successful. But that's their operational model.
And I think that you're right about that, but I also think that you have to be, you can't be confrontational too, because they have the numbers to basically stomp you.
I'm not saying being, I'm not confrontational.
So you gotta
when I
come
go to
out,
meetings,
you
so.
gotta come out with your point, and you gotta come out with your facts, but you just, it's a fine mix there, it's hard.
I don't think that the implementation or the creation of a rural advisory council was something that was at the top of their to-do list.
Right.
I believe that was a concession to.
To Skip's point, yes.
Yeah, it was a concession to us, Medina, people that didn't have a Cleveland return address, or Cuyahoga County return address. I think it was a concession to that. It just seems ironic that we would then send people who don't necessarily represent the overwhelming geographical area of our county, just the higher density area of our county, and call that rural. That's all I mean, we've had our discussion.
The key is representation. The key factor is representation, Blake, not geography.
I don't know that that's true, Walter. If I'm gonna sit down and talk to somebody about problems that are in the rural area, I'm probably gonna go with someone from the Burton, Middlefield, Clarendon area before I go with somebody from South Russell, Chesterland, and Bainbridge.
They gotta step up and offer.
Well, 2 points. They're not asking for rural representation. They're asking for a conservation specialist, an agricultural specialist, a township trustee, and a planning commission specialist. So
Under what guise? What's the name of the committee?
It may be a rural council, but the planning commission represents Geauga County. So if we're sitting on the planning commission, there's discussion about all of the communities within Geauga County, not just the rural, urbanized, whatever that means. John Oros represents a large rural community.
He lives in a rural area as well.
Okay. John Oros and Bob Rogish are pretty, I don't know how you could say that they weren't, highly qualified individuals in their specialties. It is a specialty thing. And so, the other point that I want to make real quick is, here's an operating mode that few people watch within NOACA. They have an agenda. Read their strategic plan, it's online, it's very easy to see. The very opening sentence says, this is a progressive plan meant to move our northeastern Ohio forward. Progressive plan. That has a very strong meaning to me. I know exactly what progressive is all about. So they have a goal and objective. They want to get to that goal and objective. They set up these councils. They have a bicycle council. They have a business council. They have a business council. They use all of these other hidden councils to give them material that they can use then to justify decisions that they're making. So don't underestimate the fact that this rural council is there for a specific purpose. This is not, there's more to this than what people think that it is. So, with that said.
So I guess we'll wait a week then, and next week we'll talk about this one.
All right.
And water resources, Jerry.
We have
one regular motion and then we have executive session, so.
All right, we're gonna have
Jerry.
28.
Maybe I missed.
We tried to wake you up a couple times and you weren't responding.
Yeah, you were next time leave a call. It's like 10:30.
Yeah, wake up call.
Yeah, well, that was, normally I do read through the agenda and then I come over at an appropriate time. This time I just grabbed the agenda and came over.
Pillow back there?
The item we have here is, it's our Coy Lane lift station in Scarsdale subdivision in Russell Township. The lift station's about 40 years old. It's dilapidated. We're down to one pump, so we're replacing that, and this is to be able to go out to bid for that replacement project.
The Department of Water Resources is requesting the board grant permission to advertise for bids for the Coy Lane lift station replacement project to be held March 23rd, 2016 at 2:00 p.m. Notice of this bid opening will be advertised on March 4th, 2016, March 11th, 2016, and on the county website.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Want to do his first, come out, and then go back and do your own?
Right,
Okay.
right.
Commissioner's office is requesting the board move into executive session for the purpose of discussing the discipline of a public employee in the Department of Water Resources.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Who's gonna be in there?
Besides Jerry, we'll have Linda Henning and Jessica Bolt, who's the hearing officer.
And will there be action?
Yes.
Well, we're coming back
There will-
anyway.
Yeah, there will probably be action.
We have to come back for the next one.
Okay.
Okay.
You have returned at The Department of Water Resources is requesting the board accept the disciplinary recommendation of the hearing officer Jessica Volk and to suspend without pay Callan McGee, maintenance worker in the Department of Water Resources for 16 hours, 2 days for violation of the Geauga County Personnel Policy and Procedure Manual. Section 6 leaves absence from work, notification to supervisor of absence at least 30 minutes prior to the scheduled start time. And Geauga County Department of Water Resources work rule number 3, all employees must be ready for the workday dressed in the proper uniform and punched in prior to the starting time. Tardiness is also covered under work rule number 19. Formal referral to the county's employee assistance program will be done. And the department further requests the board approve and execute the order of removal, reduction, suspension, involuntary disciplinary separation form per ORC 124.34 for the 2 days.
There's 3 copies, each needs to be signed by each of you.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Clifford?
All right, where's that at?
We got one more.
One more.
So we have the Commissioner's Office is requesting the board move into executive session for the purpose of discussing the employment of a public employee in the Commissioner's Office.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Linda will be coming.
Will there be action when we return?
Possibly. I have a question.
Number 19?
That was a fun conversation.
No changes to it?
Nope.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the board approve increasing the hours for Lori Zampino, Administrative Assistant, for up to 35 hours per week to be effective March 7, 2016.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Mr. Claypool?
Mr. Zager, you had a question?
Yeah, I've been here a couple times.
Who are you for the record?
My name is Alan Sadie. I'm in Bainbridge Township, a 63-year resident. And I brought some things where I say people stole my property, and I gave you court cases if you guys want to look into it. And, you know, I talked to the police chief, I talked to the sheriff, I talked to the police in Chardon, but they didn't do nothing. And I'm not allowed to talk to higher up people, according to the higher up people, without somebody putting in for an investigation. But since then, I was involved in a foreclosure case, which is case 09F000356, which was with Judge Burt. And I never had a day in court. The prosecuting person that was handling it for the county treasurer put in falsified documents, sworn falsified documents, signed by somebody that worked in the treasurer's office. It's all written out in court papers. I tried to talk to her boss, who's the prosecutor. He refuses and ducks all my calls at the time. Because if somebody does something wrong, you should be able to talk to their boss, you know. And then to my chagrin, this person's running for judge. And I know perjury is just for TV, they say. But it's all written down in court transcript, not court transcripts, but it's all in the court file. And they also grouped 3 pieces of property into one sheriff's sale. And then when it went to sheriff's sale, which last time I was here I told the sheriff about it, the sheriff's sale was about my unborn, unconceived son, Alan Segedy Jr., which I do not have an Alan Segedy Jr. And,
Mr. Zegedy, I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yes.
but Can you cut to the chase? What is it that you're asking this board to do?
well, but I'm told you guys can't make anybody that's elected official do anything in this county.
We have, the only authority we have is over ourselves, and sometimes I'm not sure about that.
Right, but if
And
somebody
so-
steals your property, for example,
Mhm.
in this county, what do? Do we start our own militia like they did during the Revolution?
If somebody steals your property and you've gone to law enforcement and they've taken a look at the evidence to determine what's right and wrong, then the way that our system
They never
works, then,
Because they took the property away because the notary's thing was expired, which is totally, you make a corrective deed, and when I'm the signer on the deed, selling the property from a company to myself, you just go out and make a new deed. It's like your car. If I find out that the person that notarized your deed on your car, can the company that sold you the car take it back? No. But nobody wants to go higher up and ask the FBI to investigate.
I can appreciate all that. I'm still struggling with what it is you would like us to do. I mean, I'm willing to sit here and listen to your,
Right, you weren't on the
case,
board at the
your
time.
situation and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But unless we have the authority and the power to do something, if we could just have a nice conversation. I'll take you across the street, we'll buy some coffee.
Right,
and
right.
sit and
I
listen to you. But there's not
understand
a
that,
lot we
but
can
you-
do unless you give us something specifically that's within our authority to do. So, do you have
Well, who has the
something?
authority if you find out that, like I come here and last
I'm
time it
afraid
was somebody at the bus garage or something that did something
Frank
wrong,
Leo would probably be able to help them.
And did you report that? You reported it to somebody, but you took care of it within yourself.
Yeah,
The FBI
if somebody,
won't listen
if
to
somebody,
me.
if somebody's stolen your property, then, then law enforcement is the proper place to go. And if law
And
enforcement.
what if they don't do it?
Well, I can't speak for law enforcement, so there is a proper process to go through with law enforcement. If they determine that there wasn't cause or whatever, I'm not sure what to tell you. Maybe, because I don't want to spend the time of the other two commissioners and the staff and everything.
Right.
If there's nothing we can do, I would love to hear your story. You can share it with me. Maybe I can give you some advice outside of that, if you'd like to do that. Would that be something you'd be
Right, but
interested
you are sworn to protect the Constitution. You took an oath
Yes,
for that
We are
office.
Sworn to take the.
Protect the Constitution. I've been sworn in twice myself.
What's that?
No, that's right.
What's that?
You're sworn.
When you took your oath.
I swore to defend
And
the
you took the
Constitution.
oath more
The
than
laws
once,
of the
because you were a
Constitution
police
of the United
officer.
States and the laws of the Constitution of the state
Right.
of Ohio. But we have to, it has to be one of the laws. There has to be an infraction of it.
There has to be an infraction of the law.
Right, I have
I'm pretty
them.
sure that's how I view it, the laws of the use.
So if you want to have a long coffee. at Burger
Did you
King-
say that you had some documentation on your situation?
It's right down there in archives.
Linda?
He just said something about all of his
These are documents for archives.
Yeah, we gave them to her. It was a big pile.
Yeah, you know what we did wrong though? I don't think you separated them, you know what I mean? So I gotta go separate. Remember I asked for 2 copies of each. I haven't separated it yet. But I appreciate you doing that, you know what I mean?
Secretary of,
See?
the Economic Development.
And, it's there, it's documented, unless the files disappear, because I even hear once that transcripts disappeared in Geauga County.
Well, Skip will probably go over there with you and take a look at some of that stuff. Schedule an appointment and move to adjourn.
You can
Second
handle
that.
this.
Given the fact that we don't have jurisdiction to handle the law, I will, we do have law enforcement in the back of the room who could probably handle that, but I'll.
Yeah, but if I believe it, is there still our sheriff's department back there? I brought it to you guys, but at a different level, you know what I mean?
And so with
With
that,
your-
I'm gonna receive.
I
the
move to
motion.
adjourn, I have to, I mean, we're
Okay.
already been here 3
No
hours.
problem.
Yeah, I mean, I got
And if you'd like to sit and explain your strategy.